Hi, my name is Kevin King. I'm the CEO of Music Hype, which is a software as a solution dashboard for artists and labels and management companies to recognize their truest fan. And we do this by connecting in the data, the personal data of Facebook and Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, Audio, Deezer, SoundCloud, anywhere that people can touch music. We're able to understand that fans' organic activity around that artist. And I think what, for me, as a lover of music, I recognize this as a young kid, that really kind of established my passion for what I wanted to do in life, which is be an entrepreneur in the music space. And I think that's, um, anytime I'm asked this question, it's always for young people to find what you're most passionate about. And for me, it's music and how we can uh, build upon music discovery and sharing of music, and um, it's both on the consumption level and on the generation level. Um, and for me, that's the basis of being an entrepreneur for this particular space, which is my passion around music, plain and simple.
hmm I know you've done some stuff with apps, actually, quite a bit of stuff with apps, right? Can you
Right.
talk about that? You talked at one of our camps about building an app, and then sometimes it sells and sometimes it doesn't, and 6 months went by, and money, time.
Right. Well, I think what's interesting is the last time we talked about apps was over 2 years ago, and the app market is so big and so, for lack of a better word, so saturated. Um, you know, the music space is very interesting for apps because it's all about creating something that people can feel, and when you can tap into human emotion, that's why Instagram did so well, because they tapped into human emotion around content generation and picture sharing and picture taking. Um, Music is such a personal yet social thing that apps are so ripe um, for entrepreneurs to come in and really think about what the human interaction is with music, and what it takes to get music into your ears, and how you, once it gets into your ears, how do you amplify that back out to your friends and people around the world. So the app marketplace is, even though it's extremely saturated and it's huge, everybody's trying to do apps. The people that really think about what human emotion is all about and how this tool, this smartphone, can help you feel things, those are the ones that are going to win, plain and
hmm
simple.
Sure. Most of our audience are in high school, most of them. 15, 17. You're talking to somebody in high school and they don't know what they love yet. What would you tell them?
Well, I mean, I think when I was 15 years old, the first thing that I identified was that I spent a lot of time in record stores. Um, I bet if someone asked me what I'm passionate about, I wouldn't have thought that, yeah, I'm passionate about music. It's only in hindsight that I identified that. But it's, you know, I think anyone that's in high school, they could be, they find themselves playing a lot of sports, or they, maybe you watch TV a lot, maybe you go to movies a lot. I mean, but there's something that you could identify yourself as. There's an emotional reaction to something in life. Um, and for me, it was music. But I think when you take just a little bit of a step back and just kind of think about what it is um, that moves the needle for you, for lack of a better word, what that thing is that makes you feel something and wants you, that you want to interact with. Um, I mean, frankly, for me, not only music, but it was also just pop culture in general. I enjoyed watching, Saturday Night Live and David Letterman, um, and at the time, if someone asked me about passion, I wouldn't have probably said that was what I identify myself with. But in hindsight, that's really what it was those things that I found myself doing outside of school
hmm
was things that made me happy.
Sure, sure. Talk about character traits that you feel like it's taken you to either have or develop in order to be in business.
Um, Relationships,
Mm.
plain and simple. It's being able to establish rapport with people, being very be able to identify emotional responses, I think, of people, and building a network. I'm so bullish on LinkedIn. I think that's one of the most valuable tools of our society right now, is to be able to establish a foundation that is predicated on your passions, your work history, and things that you've done in life, to be able to lay that groundwork and find people that can build from it. You can build from them, they can build from you. I mean, it's a really interesting platform for this generation and generations to come. But yeah, I mean, characteristics, traits. I think it's the other thing about, I think, being an entrepreneur is the ability to see the yes in an opportunity. I meet so many people that will hear an opportunity and immediately cross their arms and say no to it. That there's nothing here. You know, when we look at a company like Instagram, you know, it took them 4 tries to get Instagram to be a $1 billion company that Facebook actually acquired for $1 billion. And that took someone that believed in the idea of sharing photos and creating filters that actually look really good. And that goes back to feeling something. You know, every time I take a picture and share it on Instagram, I feel human emotion. And that personality trait was perseverance, and the ability to say yes to opportunity instead of putting a big stamp of no on, you know, okay, this didn't work, so we're going to say no to this. This guy, Kevin, said yes, and it turned into a $1 billion company, plain and simple.
Sure. You think you were born to be an entrepreneur, or you think you had to develop a lot of this, the side, the ability to be an entrepreneur?
Wow, good question. I don't think. I think what I've learned is I actually benefited from being what I like to call a latchkey kid. I spent a lot of time by myself growing up, and my mom, fortunately, was really good about letting me kind of be independent, and through that, I think I just learned to poke holes in everything, to learn about the things I was passionate about, and ask a lot of questions, learn a lot of things by trial. So that's a good question. I don't think you can teach it. It's not something you can just, like, you can teach physics, or you can teach. You know, it's something, I think, that that's a really good question. I mean, I didn't identify that until I was, you know, 40 years old, which I am right now. And now in hindsight, it's always seemingly that person who's willing to ask questions about the status quo. Is this really the best way to do it? Maybe there's some other options. So yeah, I mean, that's a good question.
What is your perspective on learning, and learning yourself, learning as an organization?
Yeah, I think learning, it's kind of an amazing time right now that we can learn. My daughter's a great example. When she has a question, she asks me to Google it. And when you think about that ability to get answers immediately, I remember being her age and having questions about the world, and I just didn't have, you know, unless your school answered that for you, it went unanswered. And now she's getting to go through life asking questions and getting them answered in seconds. And she's very into art, and my wife and I, as parents, are channeling that passion, which is something I didn't have. I guess that goes back to, like, every generation always wants to answer something their kids didn't have, with giving them what they didn't have, and as it relates to that, it's channeling her passion, which is art. Plain and simple. Like, my daughter is completely into art. Everything she does is artistic, so that's what makes her happy. She learns from, for her, learning is fun. That's where it's most engaging, when learning is fun. And so, I mean, I think that's the biggest takeaway that I've gotten over the years, is that I've learned from being entertained, plain and simple. You know, I took calculus. I didn't enjoy it. It wasn't entertaining to me, so I didn't retain anything. But social sciences, the music business, I retained that, and I can speak. I feel like eloquently about it because I enjoy it.
Sure. If your daughter were 16 today and said, "Dad, I think I want to go into business for myself someday," what advice can you give me? What would you tell her?
Follow your passion.
Follow your passion.
I don't know what else to say about that. It's just follow your passion. I mean, that's Steve Jobs followed his passion. Any successful entrepreneur, if you're trying to sell something you don't believe in, it never works. You know, you could be a great salesman, but I think a lot of times when people on the other side of the fence, if you don't live and breathe it, there's this term called eat your own dog food. If you're not living and breathing your own product and you don't believe in it and are passionate about it, it's hard for someone else to buy it. And that's why things like Twitter and Facebook are working, because the people that built that believed there was a better way to socialize with the rest of the world. And it's very inspiring to see. But yeah, I mean, to me that's the biggest advice to any fledgling entrepreneur: follow your passion. Plain and simple.
That's great. When you got started in the entrepreneurial world, money was in your head somewhere, but where did it fit on the spectrum of goals, things you were chasing?
Ooh, man, that's a tough one, because now I have 2 kids and a wife that depend on. I mean, luckily my wife works as well, but I don't know. I mean, everything that I've chased, it's something I believe in, and we've struggled for many years. It's not about. It really is not about money. You could almost equate that to the music world, because if you're in it to be the next Kanye West, because he's a multimillionaire, there's no way that's going to work, because it's a flash in the pan. Kanye West did not get into this because of money. He got into it because it was a passion of his to share his passion with whoever would listen, turned into money. Like, that was it wasn't about what can I do, what can I build that's gonna satisfy a social market or a pain point in society. That's why, again, Instagram was such a big deal, because they created something you didn't even know you needed. And the guy who created Instagram was not even like, he wasn't doing it for the money. In fact, Instagram never really made money. It was just knowing that there was this thing around sharing photos that he wanted to, he wanted to be able to create that opportunity to share photos efficiently and with the entire world. And so, yeah, I mean, if you're leading with money first, I think it just creates friction. You just have to know that when you create something really solid that builds some sort of societal need, the money will follow. Like, it's been tested time and again. As far as like believing in what you're doing, I think there's a couple of things. One is it goes back to passion. If you're passionate about what you do and you live and breathe this thing, in my case, it's living and breathing music. I actually consume a lot of music. I use a website called Rdio that is, it's basically YouTube for music. I can stream anything I want. So there's a innate passion around music, but it's also information. The ability to go and follow thought leaders that give me information that solidifies my belief. So there's information, there's passion, but then there's also this innate human need to kind of build a foundation on what your passion is actually can deliver results. It could be 10 years from now, and there's a There's a great quote by a very famous hockey player named Wayne Gretzky that I'm sure most people are familiar with, maybe not young people, but his most famous quote was, someone asked him one time, what makes a great hockey player? And his answer was, a great hockey player, a good hockey player goes where the puck is, but a great hockey player goes where the puck is going. And for 15 years, without knowing it, up until most recently, I've built my career around going where the puck is going. YouTube, iTunes, Twitter, Facebook, Spotify. I mean, all these things that are, to most people, I mean, even Spotify is still very much in its infancy stage. But based on passion and information, I'm willing to bet a lot on that horse that I'm going to make relationships in that field, in that very defined field, from literally using LinkedIn to go to the founder of Spotify, let him feel my passion through the words that I type to him, and now that relationship is burgeoning into a world that I didn't even know could possibly exist. He's actually feels that passion and knows that I can speak the language that he's living in based on information. So I'm actually able to. He can feel my belief. He feels that I'm betting on the same horse that he's betting on, which is a multi-billion-dollar potential. And so I think passion and belief kind of work together very nicely. When you're passionate and you believe in something, there's a lot you can affect in life.